Old Tucson Studios is the title of a new book by local author PJ Lawton. The book chronicles the history of the movie studio and the 200-plus films that were made there. Channel 6 community reporter Luis Carrion talks with the author about the vision for the book, as well as what the future might hold for this icon of the Old West movie industry.
10 miles and 100 years from town. That's the old advertising slogan that many might remember about Old Tucson. And it seems that the movie studio / entertainment theme park might well be on its way to adding another decade to that century mark.
Since I've been here, other than the bumps and bruises the stunt guys get when they fall off the buildings, we haven't had anybody seriously injured, certainly not by any of the explosives. My name's PJ Lawton. I go by PJ, it's Paul. I've been here at Old Tucson for about 10 years now. And my major job around here is I work for the technical department, and I'm the armor and chief pyrotechnician. I fix the guns, I create special effects, I run some of the shows.
PJ Lawton, aside from working here at Old Tucson Studios for more than 10 years, is a self-described amateur historian and an author. He has now published a book which goes by the simple title of Old Tucson Studios, detailing the filmmaking history of Old Tucson.
I was doing tours for a while, and one of the big questions that our guests had were, is there any books about Old Tucson? And I hated to have to tell them that no, there aren't. Well, it's putting into my mind a need for some sort of information. A few years ago, I was cleaning out a building to expand the technical office, and I ran across several thousand photographs from productions from 1940 up to fairly recently. Most of the photographs they thought that they were destroyed when we had a fire in 1995. So it was a real treasure trove.
The fire of '95 put in jeopardy the future of Old Tucson Studios, and it was thought that the entire photographic history that was housed here had been lost in the devastation.
Well, one of the buildings that were burnt was behind where I'm standing now, and it was what they called it the Gert Garson House. And that was the film office, and in there were archives of all the headshots and still photos and whatnot taken over the years. And that was gutted and destroyed in the fire. So it was believed that the whole archive was gone. The archive that I found were mostly proof sheets and negatives and slides. Very few actual, 6x8 or 8x10 photos.
PJ's discovery of more than 1,500 photos in the archive is the guiding force behind this book. And the images offer a window into the history of filmmaking in Tucson and the evolution of the Western film.
We're about gone full circle. You started in the 20s and 30s with the good guys wore white hats and the bad guys wore the black hats, and the costumes were all made up in some costumer's mind. Didn't even look close to what cowboys would have looked like. And it was always the good guy wins, he kisses the horse and rides off on the girl, or the other way around. Yeah. And in the 50s, realism came more in. Costuming was more accurate. The good guys didn't necessarily always win, or if they did, it was just a marginal victory. Right. Then you saw Sam Peckinpah type movies in the 60s where the emphasis was on violence. And along with the violence came the anti-hero. The bad guys started to win more and more, and that happened through the 70s. Then I think people just got tired of the genre, and police shows became very popular. Everybody's making a film on cops. And now we've come full circle. We're seeing that the Western films coming out now are more, if not exactly hero-oriented, at least the leading characters are seen as heroes. I mean, they did a really good film on Jesse James where he was portrayed more in a positive light than a negative light. So we've come full circle. The Westerns we see now are more like, at least the leading character is not purely evil. Right. They're starting to de-emphasize the blood splatter, the overt violence. So I'm excited about that because I think it ought to get back to where the good guys wear white hats and win all the time.
Old Tucson Studios is the name of the book, and even if you do not count yourself as a hardcore Western fan, you're sure to find the photographs intriguing.
So I want them to come away from the book enthusiastic about Old Tucson as a historic place and Old Tucson as a defining location in Western movies. I mean, remember that movies aren't history. Movies are history that we wish it was. And Old Tucson had a big place in creating that myth of the West.
For KUAT, I'm Luis Carrion.